Uh, Wait, did it go live? Whoa. Oh, I do apologize about that. I was just making sure everything was working. But welcome everybody to a trip down Stoner Drive. I am your host, Shagwhelin Bullock, and this is the first episode in my RV in the Mystery Machine that I have been creating. So you can tell we are on the bay, Mission Bay, and that means we can do an episode anywhere, anytime. And that's what I've been trying to create. So unfortunately, with a little delay, I think it's 422. But let's start off with a bong rip together, or if you have a joint, dabs, whatever you're smoking on, um, please join me in a rip. This is a cannabis podcast. I'll be showing the um, behind the scenes of the cannabis industry. I'll be interviewing patients, brands. You can see some of my past podcasts. I got to interview Dr. Mark Goldstein, who is a veterinarian and who also had to battle pancreatic cancer and use cannabis for that. I've got to interview people in the jujitsu community and do those events. But this is where I'm trying to grow my community more instead of a following. So I'm going to go live podcast 2 to 3 times a week. The ones on Tuesdays are going to be about the RV. And so that's what this one's about today is we are going to dive into what started the idea. Why did I want to create a travel podcast? Why the Mystery Machine? Why the whole idea of Shaggy and everything? Um, but before, and then on, sorry, Mondays, we're going to do sports podcasts, high at halftime. And then once a week, I will be interviewing people as well. Um, so I'm really excited to get started on those. But before we do, I hope everybody had a happy 420 and is going to enjoy the rest of your day. But let's get started with a rip together. I hope everybody has a happy 420. Now, I am in San Diego, California. I'm fully legal state or recreational. I work in the cannabis industry. I work at Cannabis. It's a local shop here in Pacific Beach. So please come and see me. But it's really awesome seeing the difference of where I started from the West or East Coast in Virginia to moving out here 6, 7 years ago. When I moved out 7 years ago, I was not planning to start a podcast. I was not planning to get into marketing. What I really wanted to do was open a smoke lounge. I wanted to have like a brewery feel, but with cannabis, showing a place that people can use cannabis. And if it's your first time trying it out, being able to provide a comfortable place that people can try cannabis for the first time and feel not feel weird, not feel pressured, having the right music, having a good vibe. And then that way you enjoy cannabis the right way. And it's not one of your friends that is giving you a dab for your first time you're smoking, or making you smoke too much to the point where you puke because then you're not going to enjoy it. The way to enjoy cannabis is making sure that you're just taking little bits and understanding your tolerance to it and just going little bits from there. Um, Now, when I moved in or during the cannabis industry, I have done dispensaries, brands. Um, I've worked for a tour company. And so I've gotten a little taste of every bit except for maybe growing in the industry. So I've worked for corporate companies like I do right now. I've also worked for small startups like Therapy Tonics, which was a coffee and tea company. And then that's what kind of branded my way into the marketing. So I started off as a brewer, but I wanted ways that we could grow therapy tonics because I really cared about it. Our motto was, or hashtag was hashtag I need therapy. And it was showing that a little bit of therapy in our coffees could help people. And they did. We had a vanilla caramel latte. We had a Mexican mocha, Indian spice chai teas, caramel Luna teas for sleep. Like we were way ahead of our game. And I think if Therapy Tonics was around right now instead of right before COVID, I think we would have exploded. But and eventually I would like to bring them back. But what I really liked about Therapy Tonics is it really got me to expand what I wanted to do. And so I started working a lot of events. Being we did some in Vegas, I would just do some at regular dispensaries doing PADs, which are patient appreciation days. And so that's when a company will come into a dispensary and for 2 to 3 hours, we'll run a promo of like a buy one, get one for $1, things like that. And it also gave us a chance to allow people to try our coffees and teas. Well, through all the events and everything, I got to meet a lot of people. And one person I really got to meet that helped me a lot explore my passion and where I wanted to lead was Joanne Buena. If anybody knows, she is the creator of Boycott Shitty Weed and Cannabis Synergy. She has written a book, The Successful Campreneur, and she's just doing incredible things with Jack's Cannabis as well. But Joanne got me involved and she interviewed us. And then I got to work on a company called Cannabis Synergy with her. And right before COVID, Cannabis Synergy was supposed to be a live action cannabis show, just kind of like your talk shows and everything like that, but more inclusive and bringing everybody together and more involving with the crowd. And that's what we did before COVID. Cannabis Synergy, we sold out 3 straight shows, one a month with 60 people at each show. And it was awesome. We had Studio A, which was like the main interviews, music production, things like that. Studio B is where we did the yoga, we did things with dogs, we did the interactive stuff. And then we also had vendors so people could smoke, they could be a part of the show, they could laugh, be in the audience. But we also had the vendors and they could try the product and taste what we were doing when we were making the cooking shows. We were actually making guacamole and we'd make enough cups that people could go and, try it themselves and understand what they're taking. But we do that with tinctures and different things like that. And it was fantastic and growing. And then COVID hit, unfortunately. And with COVID, it locked everything down. And so that's when the idea of the podcast really just started to come together. And I was like, I love marketing. I love the show we were doing, but we weren't able to do live audience. So that's when the podcast started coming in together. And I've been doing bits and pieces and shows, doing smoke spot videos and things like that. But my dream was always if I could get it on the road. The thing that a lot of people have is they're stuck to the area they're in. And so you can, bring people in on interviews online. But I think really having one on one conversations is what I love about cannabis. It's bringing the community together. And so that's what I want to do with the shows. It's not just to interview somebody online, which is nice. You can get the information, but I think really talking to somebody is how you kind of break down and it becomes more the deeper conversations. You can really get into why they got into cannabis or how it's helped them. And I think that's the reason we use it is to, build that community together. And so I think it's time for another rip. Don't you guys? Yeah, I think so. So with mode is my name's Shagwhelin. I don't know if I said that. I have said that in past shows, but AKA Shaggy. Everybody's always called me Shaggy, and I always needed my Scooby and everything. And I always knew I wanted Scooby, which I have. Come here. Want to hop up real quick? So this is Scooby. So I've had Scooby since right before COVID. And when we were doing Cannabis Energy, I adopted her right as that happened. So I had her, but once we got the podcast going and everything, and I wanted to take it on the road, that's when the idea of the mystery machine popped up. And so I've been talking about getting the mystery machine for years. And all right, you went down. Not really. All right, she can just chill up here with me for. All right. So I had Scooby and had Riley, aka Scrappy Doo. So this is the gang that we're traveling the road. I wanted to take them on the road for a while. Because I've worked 2 to 3 jobs when I moved to California, and so I was constantly working, and unfortunately, that sometimes left them at the house for a while. And so my goal was always to take them on the road, be able to take them on the road, and do a job where I can travel. And so that's where everything just kind of grew for the Mystery Machine. So it was always an idea. It was always talked about. It was always something I was working towards, but I was always trying to build my credit, didn't have much money. So it kept going. And then in September, our place is that's when everything got kicked into action. So let's real quick do a quick little smoke. So that's when everything got kicked into action. And and when I had our place had to sell. So our place was selling, and it was either move out, move into another place, increase the rent, or finally get the Mystery Machine. And the way I went about it was looking online, and I found this RV. It's a 28-foot. I'm gonna have pictures on here, and I'm gonna get better. More I do this of I'm studying stream art of how to add pictures and stuff, so I can show you what I'm doing as I'm talking about and discussing it. So by next week, there will be a few added changes and everything. But so I got the RV on Facebook Marketplace. I was looking around for a while, or for a bit, but I had to be rushed, and so it kind of narrowed down my choices. And so I was looking between like 8 to 10 grand. And I had one buddy who's working on an RV and had one for me as his friend's family RV that they hadn't used in a little while. And while they kept doing work on it, it just kept pushing back, and I was having to move out in almost 2 to 3 weeks. And so I found this one on Facebook Marketplace while my buddy was still working on his, and I messaged them, and I went and had to check it out, and it was bare. It was super bare. There wasn't much in it, but the miles were only 55,000 miles on this RV. And so I was like, as long as it passes a smog test and everything, I'll get it. Well, we took it. It didn't pass the smog test. I was about to not buy it, but they're like, let's fix it. And then like it, and then it passes. Like, will you still buy it? So I told him yes. Go back and forth. Got the RV for eventually it was down to 6,900 is what I got him down to after the 3 days of back and forth, and I'm having to move out in 2 weeks. And so if they hadn't had it ready by that day, I was gonna have to buy my other buddies. But everything works out, and I was just like, I see the vision with this RV. I don't with the other one, I don't. With this one, I can see everything I need to do. And uh, so I got it, and that was in October, and I did a month of thinking that I was going to just be able to move into a park, a trailer, or like an RV park right on the beach. I had some friends there, and I thought it was gonna be super easy. So took 2 weeks to like clean out the RV, move all my stuff out, clean the old place. And as soon as I moved out, I called them. I was, like got paid. I was called them, and I was like, "Hey, like, can I get a spot?" And they're like, "Oh, we don't have anything for like 3 weeks." I'm like, "What?" Like, yeah, we don't have any spots. So I called 3 or 4 like RV parks around, nothing, all of them booked. And they're like, yeah, you can call back each day and like this thing. And I didn't, it hadn't crossed my mind that I like would have to reserve a spot early in advance. I don't know why I didn't think of it. I just figured there'd always be a few spots. Because I've been in there and I always just see a few empty spots. So I figured summer would be crazy, but um, all the spots were taken up. And so I did a month of boondocking, and did a month of boondocking, and then went to Arizona on our first trip together. So we did a smoke off charity event at Harambe Cafe in Tucson. And then I went to Scottsdale and went hiking. We did Showbutt Trail. It's Showbutt Trail. And so we did the hike. Riley did about a mile of it. And then I had to carry her in a backpack the rest. Scooby did the whole thing. But I never leave one of them. So if we all do something together, we all do it together. And so did the hike and everything, came back, and then that's when I decided I was like, I'm not gonna worry um about getting into an RV park, and I need to put all my money into the RV. Just take everything I can. I've already been boondocking for 1 month, like which just means I'm just parking, finding parts on the street to park, and then I was like, you know what, if I just build this out more and more, it'll get better and better. And it has, it really has. And so each week, I'm going to finish this off soon. This is just the first intro and why it got started. But the first, the first bit was a little rough, but then realizing what I needed to do to remodel it has just gotten better and better, and just becoming more and more what I need. It's still not the mystery machine yet. I still have to paint the outside. I have to do some more things. I want everything done on the inside, but it's becoming more and more my thing. And why is it the Mystery Machine 2 Electric Boogaloo? Is because Shaggy's real name in Scooby Doo was Norville Rogers. Mine is Shagwhelin Bullock. I'm a little bit different. I'm what Shaggy really was. You know, they were always had the munchies. He talked to his dog. His actual outfit is a blunt because it's a green shirt, brown pants, black shoes. I embrace what Shaggy was, and that's why I think he's a perfect example to break down the cannabis industry, a friendly face. And that's why I just want to show you everything, why I love the plant, why it helps me, why it's helped so many people. And I hope we do in a fun way. So I apologize. There's a lot of ranting this week, not many pictures, visuals, things like that. But this is just the first episode. I'm going to get better and better, and I'm going to improve each week. But I wanted to go live, and that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm not going to wait weeks for episodes to come out. When I do interviews, they're going to be live, so you can ask questions directly in the comments to any of my guests. Any questions you have, any comments you want to say, if you want to tell me what you're smoking on. Like right now, we're smoking on Camoy gummies from Traditional Company. It's a nice hybrid, just chilling, little hybrid sativa. And, you know, we're going to take one more rip. Of course, have to have, you know, really am Shaggy. But I hope you enjoyed, and it's going to get a lot better, a lot more episodes. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Next week, I'm going to get more in detail. I think we're going to go into the paint, the reason I chose the paint, and then how much I spent roughly. Luckily, I had a hookup. So thank you, Sherman Williams, for everybody that's done my paint or that's helped me get the paint. It's nice to have friends. So it might cost you more to do like the paint job that I would, slightly, but it's well worth it. Honestly, I'd much rather, instead of going cheap, I'd much rather take a little bit longer and do each project the way I want it to turn out. Hey, I think they're getting anxious, right, and hungry. But it's better to take the time on the project and put more work into it, so you don't have to redo it later than just rushing it and say this will work and then taking it from there. So really appreciate it. Let's take one last rip together. All right. Well, I appreciate you joining me on a trip down Stoner Drive. Again, this was just the kind of the backstory of how the Mystery Machine came about for me. The idea between taking the podcast on the road and where it'll come. Again, next week we will talk about like the paint and probably like the flooring. So one of the two bigger projects that I've had to do, but about how much I had to spend onto it, the bigger details of it, and so forth. So appreciate it again. Girls want to say bye? We'll catch you all later, and hopefully you'll be catching us in a city or in your city soon.